On the morning of February 28, 2026, Iran operated 3 Kilo-class diesel-electric submarines. By the morning of March 1st, all 3 had disappeared. No distress signals, no debris fields, no communication. 3 submarines carrying approximately 150 sailors vanished from the face of the ocean in less than 12 hours. We covered this story before. We told you what happened on the surface. Now we are going deeper. We are going to tell you what happened below the surface. We are going to tell you how the United States Navy found, tracked, and destroyed 3 submarines that were designed to be invisible. This is the underwater hunt that nobody saw. This is the most classified dimension of Operation Epic Fury. And this is the story that terrifies every submarine commander in the Chinese Navy. This is naval depth. Iran purchased 3 Kilo-class submarines from Russia between 1992 and 1997. The Tariq, commissioned in 1993. The Nour, commissioned in 1993. The Yuns, commissioned in 1997. These were Project 877 EKM variants, the export version of the Soviet diesel-electric submarine that NATO designated Kilo. The Kilo class was, at the time of its design, one of the quietest diesel-electric submarines in the world. Western naval intelligence designated it the Black Hole because of its remarkably low acoustic signature when operating on electric motors. The Kilo represented a genuine threat to surface ships operating in shallow, confined waters like the Persian Gulf. On battery power at slow speed in the acoustically cluttered environment of the Gulf, a Kilo-class submarine could be extremely difficult to detect. This was the theory. The theory was not wrong. The Kilo is a capable submarine when properly maintained, properly crewed, and properly employed. Iran's Kilos were none of these things. Let us start with maintenance. The Kilo class requires regular overhaul of its diesel engines, battery systems, and hull integrity. These overhauls require specialized equipment, specialized materials, and specialized expertise, all of which Russia provided under the original purchase agreements. But Iran's relationship with Russia was complicated by international sanctions, by payment disputes, and by the simple reality that maintaining 3 complex submarines on the other side of the world from the manufacturer is extraordinarily difficult. By 2026, Iran's 3 Kilos were in various states of disrepair. The Tariq, the oldest of the 3, had not undergone a full depot-level maintenance overhaul in at least 8 years. Her battery cells were degraded, reducing her submerged endurance from the design specification of approximately 400 nautical miles at 3 knots to an estimated 200 nautical miles or less. Her diesel engines required constant repair. Her sonar systems were a generation behind the latest Russian equipment because Iran could not obtain the upgraded components. The Nour was in marginally better condition. She had received some maintenance work at Bandar Abbas, using a combination of Russian-supplied parts and Iranian-manufactured substitutes. The quality of the Iranian substitute parts was unknown, but defense analysts generally assessed that they did not meet the original Russian specifications. The Yuns, the newest of the 3, was in the best condition, but even she had not been to a Russian shipyard for overhaul since before 2010. 16 years without a proper factory overhaul for a submarine is the equivalent of driving a car for 300,000 miles without changing the oil. Things break, things degrade, things that should be silent become noisy, and noise is death for a submarine. The United States Navy had been tracking Iran's submarine fleet for decades, not intermittently, continuously. Every time an Iranian Kilo left port, American surveillance assets tracked her. P-8A Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft flew missions over the Persian Gulf specifically to maintain acoustic profiles of Iranian submarines. American nuclear submarines operating undetected in the Gulf of Oman and the Arabian Sea recorded the acoustic signatures of Iranian Kilos during every deployment. These acoustic signatures were cataloged analyzed and stored in databases maintained by the Naval Oceanographic Office and the Office of Naval Intelligence. Every Iranian submarine had a unique acoustic fingerprint, the specific combination of machinery noise, propeller characteristics, and flow noise that identified that particular boat. American sonar operators could distinguish the Tariq from the Nour from the Yunus by sound alone, the way you might distinguish the voices of three people you know well. This acoustic intelligence was the foundation of the submarine hunt that began on February 28th. When Operation Epic Fury commenced, American naval intelligence had a precise picture of where Iran's three submarines were located. The Tariq was alongside at Bandar Abbas, undergoing maintenance. She was not operational. Her diesel engines were partially disassembled. She could not have gotten underway even with 24 hours of warning. The Tariq was destroyed at her berth by Tomahawk cruise missiles during the opening strikes on Bandar Abbas. She never moved. She never dove. She never had a chance. The approximately 50 crew members aboard, a skeleton maintenance crew, were killed or wounded in the attack. The Tariq sank at her moorings in approximately 20 meters of water, her hull breached by multiple missile impacts. This was not a submarine kill. This was target practice. The Tariq's destruction was militarily significant. It eliminated 1/3 of Iran's submarine force, but it was not tactically challenging. The Nour and the Yunus were at sea, and hunting them was a different matter entirely. American intelligence had tracked both submarines departing Bandar Abbas in the days before the operation. The Nour had departed approximately 4 days before February 28th. The Yunus had departed approximately 2 days before. Both submarines had been ordered to their wartime patrol stations, pre-designated areas in the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman, where they were to wait for the order to attack American shipping. The exact locations of these patrol stations were not known to American intelligence with precision, but the general areas were known. They had been deduced from years of tracking Iranian submarine exercises, analyzing Iranian naval doctrine, and monitoring Iranian naval communications. American intelligence knew that Iranian submarines preferred certain areas of the Gulf, areas with thermoclines that could mask their acoustic signatures, areas with high ambient noise from commercial shipping that could provide cover, areas with sufficient depth to allow maneuvering. To understand the hunt, you need to understand the acoustic environment of the Persian Gulf. The Gulf is one of the most difficult bodies of water on Earth for anti-submarine warfare. It is shallow, averaging only 50 meters in depth, with some areas as shallow as 20 meters. Shallow water creates complex acoustic conditions because sound bounces off the bottom and the surface, creating echoes and reverberations that can mask or distort submarine noise. The Gulf is also extremely busy commercially. Thousands of tankers, cargo ships, and fishing vessels transit the Gulf daily, creating a continuous background of propeller noise, engine noise, and hull noise that can hide a submarine's acoustic signature. In theory, this environment should favor the submarine. A quiet diesel-electric boat sitting on the bottom in 50 meters of water, surrounded by commercial shipping noise, should be almost impossible to find. In practice, the advantage depends on how quiet the submarine actually is. A brand new Kilo-class submarine running on electric motors at 3 knots in the Persian Gulf would indeed be extremely difficult to detect. But Iran's Kilos were not brand new. They were 29 to 33 years old. Their machinery had degraded. Their hull coatings, the anechoic tiles that absorb sonar pulses, had deteriorated in the warm, biologically active waters of the Gulf. Some tiles had fallen off entirely, leaving bare steel that reflected sonar energy like a mirror. The Iranian crews knew their boats were noisier than they should have been. They had trained in these waters for years. They knew the acoustic conditions. They knew where the thermoclines formed. They knew where the shipping lanes provided the most masking noise. They had rehearsed their patrol station procedures dozens of times. But they had never rehearsed against an enemy that controlled the air, the surface, and the electromagnetic spectrum simultaneously. They had never rehearsed against an enemy that could saturate their entire patrol area with sonobuoys, blast them with active sonar from surface ships, and hunt them with nuclear submarines that were quieter than they were. The hunt for the Nour and the Yuns was conducted by a combination of assets working together in a coordinated anti-submarine warfare campaign. The first layer was space-based. American satellites, both military reconnaissance satellites and signals intelligence satellites, monitored Iranian naval communications for any transmission that might reveal the submarines' positions. Diesel-electric submarines must surface or raise a snorkel mast periodically to run their diesel engines and charge their batteries. When they do this, they are vulnerable to detection by radar, by visual observation, and by the electromagnetic emissions of their communication and navigation systems. The second layer was airborne. P-8A Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft flew continuous missions over the Persian Gulf and Gulf of Oman. The P-8A carries the AN/APY-10 multi-mission radar, which can detect a submarine periscope or snorkel mast at significant range. It also carries sonobuoy dispensers, devices that drop acoustic sensors into the water to listen for submarine noise. A single P-8A can deploy dozens of sonobuoys across a wide area, creating an acoustic net that is extremely difficult for a submarine to penetrate without being detected. The third layer was surface-based. American destroyers and cruisers carry hull-mounted sonar and towed array sonar systems that can detect submarines at ranges of tens of nautical miles under favorable conditions. During Operation Epic Fury, American surface ships conducted active sonar searches, transmitting powerful acoustic pulses into the water and listening for the echoes from submarine hulls. Active sonar is a double-edged weapon. It reveals the searching ship's position as clearly as it reveals the submarine's position. In peacetime, active sonar is used sparingly to avoid giving away the surface ship's location. But during Operation Epic Fury, with air and surface superiority established, American surface ships could use active sonar without fear of retaliation. They could ping as loudly and as frequently as they wanted. The Iranians could not stop them. The fourth layer was the most dangerous: American nuclear submarines. At least 2 Virginia-class attack submarines were operating in the Persian Gulf and Gulf of Oman during the opening phase of Operation Epic Fury. These submarines were specifically tasked with finding and destroying the Iranian kilos. A Virginia-class submarine hunting a kilo-class submarine is not a fair fight. It is not even close to a fair fight. The Virginia-class is one of the quietest submarines ever built. Its sonar suite, the AN/BQQ-10, is a generation beyond anything the Kilo carries. The Virginia can detect a Kilo at ranges where the Kilo cannot detect the Virginia. The Virginia can maneuver at speeds where the Kilo cannot hear her. The Virginia can fire torpedoes from ranges where the Kilo's own torpedoes cannot reach. The hunt for the Nour is the better documented of the two. Intelligence assessments indicate that the Nour was detected by a P-8A Poseidon aircraft approximately 18 hours after Operation Epic Fury began. The P-8A detected a brief radar emission consistent with a Kilo-class submarine raising its snorkel mast to charge batteries. The emission lasted less than 4 minutes. The Nour's crew was clearly trying to minimize their exposure time. But 4 minutes was enough. The P-8A dropped a pattern of sonobuoys around the estimated position of the snorkel detection. Within approximately 2 hours, the sonobuoys had established a track on the Nour. The submarine was moving slowly, approximately 3 knots, on a southeasterly course in the Gulf of Oman at a depth estimated at approximately 60 meters. The track was passed to a Virginia-class submarine, the identity of which has not been declassified, that was operating in the area. The Virginia closed on the Nour's position over several hours, using the sonobuoy data to guide her approach while maintaining her own acoustic stealth. The engagement itself was brief. The Virginia fired 2 Mark 48 ADCAP torpedoes from a range that has not been disclosed but is estimated at between 5 and 10 nautical miles. The Nour's crew may have detected the incoming torpedoes in the final seconds. Kilo-class submarines carry passive sonar that could theoretically detect a Mark 48 in active homing mode at close range. But there was no time to react, no time to fire countermeasures, no time to turn, no time to dive deeper. Both torpedoes struck the Nour. She imploded at depth. There were no survivors. Approximately 50 crew members died. The Yuns lasted slightly longer. She was detected approximately 26 hours after the operation began, also by aircraft-deployed sonobuoys. Her crew appears to have been more disciplined about emissions control. The Yuns did not raise her snorkel or transmit any electronic emissions during the first day of the conflict. But battery endurance on a degraded Kilo is limited. Eventually, the Yunus had to snorkel, and when she did, the P-8A aircraft that had been patiently circling overhead detected her. The kill chain for the Yunus was similar to the Nour: sonobuoy localization, handoff to a nuclear submarine, torpedo engagement. The Yunus was destroyed approximately 30 hours after Operation Epic Fury began. But the Yunus engagement had one additional detail that deserves attention. According to post-conflict analysis, the Yunus attempted to fight back. When the incoming Mark 48 torpedoes were detected, likely by the submarine's passive sonar, picking up the torpedo's active homing pings. The Yun's crew launched 2 torpedo countermeasures and attempted an emergency maneuver. The countermeasures were acoustic decoys designed to lure the incoming torpedoes away from the submarine by producing a louder acoustic signal than the submarine itself. The countermeasures failed. The Mark 48 ADCAP torpedo uses a sophisticated guidance system that can distinguish between a real submarine and a decoy. The torpedo's onboard computer analyzes the acoustic characteristics of the target, its size, its shape, its acoustic signature, and compares them to the decoy. If the decoy does not match the target profile, the torpedo ignores it. Iran's countermeasures were Russian-made systems from the 1990s. They were designed to defeat Western torpedoes from the 1980s. The Mark 48 ADCAP had been upgraded multiple times since then. The countermeasures were a generation behind the weapon they were trying to defeat. The Yuns' emergency maneuver, likely a hard turn combined with a rapid depth change, also failed. In 50 meters of water, there is nowhere to go. The submarine could not dive deep enough to escape the torpedo's search cone. She could not accelerate fast enough to outrun a weapon traveling at 55 knots. She could not hide because the torpedo was already in active homing and had a solid lock on her hull. The Mark 48 struck the Yuns approximately 90 seconds after the crew first detected it. The submarine was destroyed. All hands were lost. 3 submarines, 12 hours between the first kill and the last. 150 sailors dead, and a message delivered to every submarine force on Earth. The speed of this submarine campaign is what should concern Chinese military planners. Iran's submarine force was small, only 3 boats. But China's submarine force, while larger, faces the same fundamental vulnerabilities. China operates approximately 48 conventional diesel-electric submarines. These include Yuan-class boats that carry air-independent propulsion systems, a technology that allows diesel-electric submarines to remain submerged for significantly longer periods than conventional battery-powered boats. The Yuan class is more modern, more capable, and quieter than Iran's aging Kilos. But the United States Navy has been tracking Chinese submarines with the same intensity and the same persistence that it tracked Iranian submarines. Every Chinese submarine deployment is monitored. Every acoustic signature is recorded. Every patrol pattern is analyzed. The sound surveillance system, SOSUS, and its modern successors maintain continuous acoustic coverage of the waters surrounding China. SOSUS was originally built during the Cold War to track Soviet submarines crossing the Atlantic. It consists of arrays of hydrophones, underwater microphones, installed on the ocean floor at strategic choke points. These hydrophones can detect submarine noise at ranges of hundreds of miles. The system has been continuously upgraded and expanded since the 1950s. Its current capabilities are classified, but it is publicly acknowledged that the system covers the Pacific Ocean, approaches to the United States, the Western Pacific, and key choke points in Southeast Asia. In addition to SOSUS, the United States operates the Integrated Undersea Surveillance System, IUSS, which combines fixed bottom-mounted sensors with mobile sensors deployed by ships, submarines, and aircraft. This system provides a layered acoustic picture of the entire Pacific that is updated continuously. Chinese submarines operating in the South China Sea, the East China Sea, and the Western Pacific are being monitored right now. Their positions are being tracked, their acoustic signatures are being updated. The American submarine force knows where they are. In a Taiwan scenario, Chinese diesel-electric submarines would face the same hunt that destroyed Iran's Kilos, but at a vastly larger scale. Dozens of P-8A aircraft, multiple Virginia-class submarines, surface ships with advanced sonar, underwater sensor networks, satellite surveillance, the full weight of American anti-submarine warfare capability, honed over 70 years of continuous practice against Soviet and then Russian submarines. Chinese nuclear submarines, the Type 093 and Type 095 attack boats, face an even starker disadvantage. They are louder than American boats. They are less capable in sonar performance. They would be hunted by Virginia-class submarines that can detect them at ranges where they cannot detect the Virginia. The lesson of February 28th is not that Iran had bad submarines. The lesson is that no submarine force in the world can survive against the full weight of American anti-submarine warfare when America has achieved air and surface superiority. Iran lost 3 submarines in 12 hours. In a Taiwan conflict, China could lose a significant portion of its submarine fleet in the first 48 hours. The underwater hunt that nobody saw was the most decisive single operation of the entire conflict. Not because 3 submarines mattered strategically. They did not. But because the hunt demonstrated a capability that applies to every submarine on Earth. The United States Navy can find you. The United States Navy can track you. The United States Navy can kill you. And you will never see it coming. Somewhere in the deep water right now, an American submarine is listening. Somewhere above, an American aircraft is watching. Somewhere in space, an American satellite is looking down. The ocean is not empty. The ocean is not private. The ocean belongs to the Navy that can see through it. And that Navy belongs to the United States. This is Naval Depth. Subscribe and stay with us as this story continues.